Yo, crew, welcome to the Skippy Report. Hey, crew, Skippy of the Skippy Report here with the owners of Forager Farms, Erin Badashevsky and Tyler Davis. Welcome.
What's going on, podcast world? How you doing, Skip?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Really good, really good.
Good, yeah. Watching the snow outside the window here.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it great waking up this morning to that nice, fresh powder?
Yeah, it was spring, and then today it's winter again.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because every time the snow starts to thaw out, I start to think, okay, it's time to get stuff done for the farm. But since everything's frozen over now, we don't really have much of a choice. We're going to have to hibernate a little bit longer. I think that's okay.
I was going to say, you probably don't have a problem hibernating after all those long hours you put in the field during the growing season.
No, oh no.
No problem at all. And this is our we're going into our fifth season, but this will be the first year that we've actually been able to take a pause over the winter without maybe going back to work and being busy with that. So we're taking this opportunity to really rest, plan for our next season, make sure we have everything in place, and really just reflect upon what happened in 2020.
Oh, that's awesome. It's nice that, you both don't have to go back. If maybe you guys can tell people what you used to do in your off seasons.
Yeah, for sure. I have a background in the chef world. So I finished high school. I was kind of into eating healthy and just living healthy. And that led me into getting into the culinary world of organic food and mostly vegetarian at the time, because I was just kind of dabbling with being vegetarian. And so I've been a chef the past 10 years. I traveled a little bit in Mexico and Malaysia, and then I wound up back in my hometown in Oshawa about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And so then naturally, from being involved in the food world, that led me to being interested in where our food comes from, where it's grown, how it's grown. Having a grandfather with a garden, it automatically just was in my world. So, this is my first winter not having to be a chef, because as we know, the restaurant industry is quite affected by COVID right now. And I took it as a sign to take the winter off. And we did okay this year on our fourth year farming. So we feel a bit more financially stable to alleviate ourselves this winter and just focus on our mental health and physical health.
Nice.
And Tyler, what do you do?
I have a background in the trades world. My grandfather was an aircraft mechanic, and my dad a carpenter, locksmith, and they had always told me that would be a good idea to get a trade, to get some life skills before going back to school. So that I pursued that. Going straight out of high school, I became a welder, fitter, fabricator, and then from there became a sheet metal mechanic, finishing my 5-year apprenticeship doing that. And at the end of my 5th year, I always had maybe starting a business in mind throughout the whole apprenticeship. So I was very keen on learning and absorbing all the knowledge and information in order to be able to start my own business. But I had never thought that I'd start a farm business. I always thought I'd start another trades business. But I guess farming's very similar to the trades, and it's got a lot of perks, I guess, that some trades jobs don't have, like the ability to work outside, the ability to work from home, and be more active and taking a role in raising my son Cypress. And so I transferred from doing that kind of trades work to starting my own farm business instead of starting a trades business. So here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what? Like, I have a daughter. You guys know this, but the people in podcast world wouldn't. That she lives out in the country. She has an acre of land, and she started growing chickens and that sort of stuff. But it's interesting that, with COVID and all that sort of stuff going on, and people with food insecurity, the interest in growing your own food and growing your own chickens and cows and that sort of stuff, that it, you have this whole life sort of endeavor going on. So you guys are, growing your own food, growing food for other people, and you have your family there, with you the whole time.
Yeah.
It's a good, healthy way to raise a family.
Yeah, and it also seems to be an outlet for other people who are also interested in growing their own food and raising livestock and things like that, but are kind of just starting on their way to their journey of homesteading. And I think maybe that's how we met you. And Sean initially was your interest in helping us out doing our garlic crop. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Well, I think I was following you on Instagram, and then I saw there was a kind of a call out there for some help for harvesting garlic, and it's like, hey, Sean, you wanted to go do this? They're like just up here in the hills. And it's like, yeah, for sure, man. So, yeah, we always enjoy coming up and helping you guys.
Yeah, you've helped us for at least 2 seasons in a row with our garlic, either planting or harvesting or both. And we really appreciate the extra help for those big jobs that we have in the season. There's only a few times in the year where I'm sweating thinking, oh, how are we going to get all this done? And, Erin throws out a call out for some volunteers, and lo and behold, we end up getting a handful of people, if not more.
And it's usually the same people. It's great. We're a little fan club.
Yeah, well, it's like, you see old friends. We haven't seen them in a year or 10 months, and we get together outside, and it, working outside, it's easy to physically distance and get jobs done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
The more the merrier, you can come, bring a couple cans of beer, bring some snacks. We normally have somewhat of a barbecue or something going for food for people, and you get to take some garlic home or some produce home at the end of the day to celebrate all the harvest and all the hard work that we put in over the day. So yeah, we'll be sure to throw out some more volunteer days for this season.
That's actually how we got involved in farming too, though. We volunteered at multiple farms.
Oh, really?
Before we started our farm.
Oh, cool.
And we found that the most beneficial way to learn from the other farmers, the other folks with their own businesses, making the mistakes and learning on the way.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, just from the short time that we've come up to help you guys, it's like osmosis. We have conversations while we're working, and you're just, sponging up the information that different people are sharing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
That's kind of cool. So that's taken in a lot of the questions that I had set up to talk about. I was gonna say, you guys are located between Port Hope and Cobourg, up in the hills on the 5th concession, but you don't necessarily own your own farm, correct?
Yes, correct. My dad, I grew up in Oshawa, and then my parents divorced, and my dad remarried a woman from Port Hope. So that's kind of what brought me out this way to begin with. I would go and visit him, and I looked up some local farms to see if I could help them out. And Headwaters Farm, they had an ad online, so I reached out, and I was kind of like a little once-in-a-while volunteer. Whenever I would visit my dad, which was quite random, I would just come over and see what they're up to and lend a hand for a day or a few days. And that was about 6-7 years ago now. And then a few years later, Tyler and I were kind of just getting into thinking about gardening a bit more seriously on a business level, because we were gardening on a rental property. Like, we were just in a house that had an acre around it, and Tyler started his first little experimental garden there, while also working both full-time jobs. And that kind of gained us our level of confidence in knowing that we want to take this a little bit farther and take it more seriously. So we realized that we couldn't necessarily afford land quite yet. So we decided to get creative. And I was led to the website called farmlink.net. And it's for people who have land or who want to collaborate. And they post an ad on the website. And so Headwaters Farm had an ad on there just saying that they were looking for, I think at the time it was like a they have a permaculture garden. They were just looking for a gardener to take care of their permaculture garden. And so we kind of changed it through our desires, which were to also start our business. So we ended up with a memorandum of understanding with Headwaters Farm of like a 10-year lease. And now we're going into our 5th year. It has changed over just recently to us just being renters, but the first 3 years it worked out that we were bartering for renting, basically. So we figured out a fair way to share our time and resources with them for their business, and in exchange they gave us their land to grow on and access to buildings and hydro and water. And so just because recently our business has grown quite a bit and theirs has changed a little bit as well, it's ended up being that we're just straight up renting now. And it's worked out really good. So they've essentially kind of incubated our farm in a way. And we consider them our farm partners because we do have a lot of collaboration aspects going on. They cross-promote with us and we cross-promote with them. And then their friend is a beekeeper on the property. He's got a few places that he beekeeps, but this is one of about 4 locations. And he's another partner. So we offer his honey and his candles. And we're just going into our next stage. There's a potential severance of this property that is still in the works. And they've asked us to be the right of, what do you call it?
They've given us the right of first refusal on our lease. They totally plan on severing and selling the portion of the property that we are currently farming. Although our lease does carry over, so if there are any new home buyers besides us that were to buy this place, we would still be able to farm the land and have access to one of the outbuildings that we're currently occupying. Although we would lose the house, so that's the only stipulation. If we lose the house, we kind of lose a place for workers to stay and access to a kitchen and bathroom and septic and things like that are kind of crucial for our business. So we got our fingers crossed that 2021 is going to be another great year for us, and that we're able to come up with what it takes to put a down payment on this place and maybe become the owners of a farm property, which would be great. Because originally we had planned a good 5-6 years of farming before we dive in and get a mortgage with the bank and rely on our farm to be able to pay that mortgage. And we just started learning too, so there's a bit of a steep learning curve involved, but there's also the fact that the farm needs to kind of have a presence over a span of time, just like any other business, to get recognized and be able to accumulate some more customer base so that we can depend on our community to help us be able to afford to do this endeavor. Although if we don't buy this property, we're still open to having more partnerships with people, either on the purchase of this land or in a similar agreement where we come and help you get started, or you have a chunk of land that's viable enough to start a vegetable garden on. We're still open to the idea of moving the farm around and just accommodating our farming experience into the future.
That's really interesting, because a lot of people don't realize that farmers don't always own the land that they work. They lease it from other people. So you might have city people come out and buy a 100-acre farm, and they don't know what to do with the land. And I grew up on my uncle's farm, a dairy farm in southwestern Quebec, and if he needed more acreage for crops, there was a guy down the road who had a couple 100 acres, and he didn't actively farm it, and he would just lease it out for tax rate.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a very common arrangement amongst larger field cash cropping farmers.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of open land is good for growing grains and grazing livestock on pasture and things like that. Although I would say vegetable farming needs somewhat of a specific piece of land. It can't just be like, hey, I got 100 acres. Do you want to use the back 5 or whatever? It's wide open. We don't do anything with it. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Right.
It's easier said than done to be able to move a vegetable operation onto any random chunk of land that might be just accessible.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's a very specific kind of piece of land. And the land we're on here, we're kind of on top of a hill. And anywhere you go, there's going to be different limitations involved, pros and cons with the land. So we're very aware of that. But where we got started, we're on a bit of a top of a hill where it plateaus, and it's a very good growing spot. I guess about 80 years ago, there was a vegetable garden in the space that we're growing on. Although we have expanded now to 2 acres, so it's probably a little bit bigger than it used to be. But yeah, when we're looking for land, we're looking for a few very specific things to be able to grow the farm on and be efficient while we're doing that. Because efficiency is the thing that will separate a successful farm from one that just will inevitably fail.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people who get doing things like that, and then they just kind of start spinning their wheels and get caught in the same track all the time and not moving forward. Because you started with 1 acre, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably more like half acre, to be honest, in our first year.
Right.
Yeah, we got started with a half an acre. We before that, the year before, the experimental garden was like 1/8 of an acre or less. So we've been gradually expanding the farm, and we've been going basically a half acre every year since we've started, and to the point where now we're at 2 acres, with about a half an acre that we cultivated the land, and we're going to just grow cover crops on next year to increase soil organic matter,
Right.
and graze some goats and chickens on as well, to bring up that biodiversity and soil microbes.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about you guys operate a CSA, correct?
Yeah.
And so maybe you can educate the listeners to what a CSA is.
Yeah. So it stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and there's many benefits to it for both the farmer and the consumer. For the consumer, right now especially, there's a food security benefit to it, just knowing that how the trickle effect of COVID and how that will reflect on our food system. Just recently, we've had a huge surge of CSA members because of probably their insecurities over food. So people are recognizing that the CSA is a way to give the farmer their money in an exchange for knowing that they'll have vegetables that season. And then the farmer's benefit is that it's giving us money maybe during a slow time of year where we're making big investments for the whole season, buying seeds, new tools, new equipment, reinvestments in things. So yeah, that's the benefit. And then it goes, for us, we do an 18-week CSA program. So it starts in June, and then it goes until like mid-October. And so every week people come to our pickup spots. We have 4 different spots, the Coburg Farmers Market, and then 2 in Peterborough, which are the Wednesday Peterborough Farmers Market and the Saturday Peterborough Regional Farmers Market, and then our farm. So each week people come to those locations and they pick up their bag, and then we have 2 rotating bags. So then the following week they'll bring us back their empty bag, and then we'll give them their other bag full. So it also allows people to be more connected to eating in season. It gets people getting quite creative with veggies maybe they wouldn't necessarily pick out themselves, because our CSA is farmer's choice. So we are picking out what goes in their bag, as opposed to a customized bag where people might have certain health allergies to vegetables or dislikes from kids or personal favorites. So yeah, I find it gets people really creative. It gets them fermenting and pickling and preserving. Gets them more in line with the flavors of the season, and yeah, just more understanding of Ontario food.
Right. Yeah. I remember, I don't know how long, it was quite some time ago, probably before you were out this way. We had joined a CSA with the same, bag or 2 every week of fresh produce. And my kids, who are younger at the time, they might have been like 10, 11, 12. they're like, oh my gosh, this food ever tastes different, tastes richer, better. And I like the variety. When I was up at your place, I think it was later in the growing season, and I picked up some of those watermelon radishes. Those are awesome, man.
Yeah, those ones are the highlight of the table.
yeah, because I let Kat just kind of pick through the vegetables, and I went on her recommendations.
That's the cool thing. And because we do grow 30 to 40 different types of vegetables, and even multiple cultivars of those vegetables, there's bound to be something different every single week. But we do try to make sure people get the basics, like a salad mix base, and then some salad components, and then some veg to roast up, and some to just straight up eat raw or pickle or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I mentioned Kat, so you guys employ interns, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We normally have 2 interns every season that come at the start of May, which is when, we really need to get a lot of those seedlings that have been growing in the nursery for about 2 months or 3 months out into the field. So there's a big push to get a lot of seedlings at that time. And so, we have our interns start in May and they end at the end of October. And the interns, they really, over the years, they've really varied from people who have, taken courses in school or college for sustainable farming and agriculture, or people who are just like, vegetable growers and enthusiasts who think they might want to have their own farm, but really just want to have the experience of growing over a full season on a farm before they take the big leap, to people who are unsure of what they want and are in a transitional phase, sometimes, beyond our knowledge, maybe going through an existential crisis where they just want to get out of the city and be on the farm, be on the land, not really think about all their bills and everything, and just take it day by day and enjoy their time here while they learn and while they gain the experience to just be able to grow their own food, for the rest of their lives. Because at the very least here, that's what you're going to get. You're going to become familiar with, like Erin said, 30 to 40 different vegetables and different growing techniques, the seasonality, succession planting, and pest control. I think above all, is one of the things that they're going to learn. So for us last year, I think, was our biggest year for pest issues, and it might even be because we're growing our farm incrementally bigger and bigger, even though we're still only at 2 acres. It's still a micro farm. I feel like that half acre, the insects flew by. They're like, oh, look, there's something going on there. Oh, well, we'll just move on. Where our normal spot is. But last year they flew by and they're like, whoa, this is really happening. Let's stop off here and maybe, spend the season.
Yeah, I know when on my daughter's garden, she was coming across the tomato hornworms, and so we did a little bit of research in it, and we found that you could harvest them at night. So I got her an ultraviolet light. She went out at nighttime, and then, oh my gosh, they just light up like nothing, and you just walk through the tomatoes and just pick them all off, and then she feeds them to her chickens.
That's brilliant. I've never heard of that technique.
Come on.
Yeah. I got this ultraviolet light off of Amazon for I think it was less than $20, and it's just like a little flashlight. And she just walked amongst her tomatoes, and the worms, they glow like iridescent marshmallows.
Yeah, freaky alien iridescent marshmallows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
those things will raise the hairs on your arm.
Oh yeah.
They're freaky looking. I remember our first year. The first one that I've ever seen was like some kind of mutation of a tomato hornworm. It was big and brown and green, and I've never seen a brown purpley one since.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it was weird. I went to show my friend Nikita, who ended up being our first intern. I showed her. She looked at it and literally screamed and ran out of
No way.
Yeah, she was like, I didn't sign up for this. What is that thing, man? So the interns have been a fun experience, and we're happy to share our knowledge and experience as we go with our journey farming, and we find that a lot of people that are interested in coming to our farm are interested because we are where we are in our development and along our journey. Just kind of starting from scratch, just bootstrapping the whole thing. You know, we're leasing land, and we have a partnership with Headwaters Community Farm here too. So there's that aspect of like how that arrangement works out and what our relationship is and how we're able to gain access to land with fairly low cost to be able to get the farm started and invest in all the equipment needed to make it efficient enough to actually earn an income on. So yeah, a lot of people are interested in that aspect of the farm, and we're fairly open. You know, we're new farmers. We're learning every year. We're implementing new things year to year, and next year, this year, the 2021, we're gonna have. We've invested into a tractor, and we've invested into a new 30 by 150 foot greenhouse. So the farm is starting to look like a legitimate operation.
Nice.
More than like a backyard homestead kind of thing where we're just selling to markets, and we're picking up a lot more customers. So we need that type of infrastructure to keep everything viable. And so right in this moment, you might come to our farm and be like, well, there's a lot going on. But in previous years, it was just like, hey, we just introduced a new tool. It's called a cooler.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we're no longer, bumming space from the walk-in cooler that's down 2 flights of stairs from our neighbor farmer's property.
Right.
So yeah, it's been definitely a wild ride for us, and we share all our experiences with anyone interested in coming to learn from us.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I've been up there and picking up some groceries or produce from you guys, I find you in the field because I know with the potatoes at Kieran's garden, we were having problems with rodents. So you told us what to do. So when we were prepping her beds this year, we made sure that the edges were nice and big and clean, and nothing will get hidden, so that they have open space so that their predators can pick them off, hopefully.
Oh, is that what you advised him?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because those edges, and you'll learn this from a lot of orchard growers, is, those are the places where, quote unquote, pests like to live and create burrows. And it's the perfect habitat in the long grasses to be able to take shelter from predators. So
right, yeah.
In orchards, you can manage them over the summer, but once winter hits, and the snow comes, then they can dig little tunnels and ring trees and kill your trees.
Right.
But in a full garden, they take habitat and they eat your vegetables underneath your very expensive insect netting and things like that, and you wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's an advantage to using, mulches like straw or hay, thick mulches on your vegetable crops. But there's also disadvantages because, a lot of field mice will come in there and make habitat. And when you go to harvest and flip the garden beds into something new, like another planting,
right,
then you're disrupting them, and you're having to basically evacuate them out of your garden space just so you can plant again.
Right. Yeah.
So we use mulches on specific crops that most animals aren't really interested in, like garlic, for instance, and some broccoli and cabbage, cauliflower. But generally, we're trying to make sure that there's a lot of space for those plants to grow into, and it's not too wet, because then you can kind of get diseases and fungus and stuff like that happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah. Now, I was wanting to get back to the CSA and the land that you guys have. How many members do you provide produce for? Off of an acre and a half, 2 acres.
Well, we do more than just the CSA. So I guess you could probably explain more so how much CSA's technically 2 acres could provide for, how many families. But what we do is restaurants and farmers markets and CSA. So within that acre and a half, we have 60 CSA members. We do 3 farmers markets, and Rico, which is like a Facebook hosting where people order online and then you go to a location for an hour.
Oh, okay.
And restaurants, we have anywhere from like 5 core restaurants who are quite active with ordering, and then we get like another 5 to 8 who kind of order here and there.
Right. So
yeah,
you're able to provide quite a bit. You know, a lot of people think, geez, you know, you have to have a lot of land to provide for yourself, but you don't really have to.
Well, so more recently we've been going over the economics of the farm, and you know, we're leasing land right now. So on our acre and a half, we're able to definitely, you know, pay ourselves, pay the interns, and deal with all the overhead expenses and reinvest into our farm incrementally, which just means, you know, another greenhouse or, you know, making our irrigation system a little bit better, things like that. Although, you know, to pay a mortgage on a 50-acre property, we might have to grow a little bit more than that.
Right.
So it all depends on what your overhead costs are and what scale you want to grow your farm to, and then, you know, the price of land that you buy as well. And so we found that initially we were like, oh, should we put a down payment on some land? Can we get started? And we'd have to go further and further north or northeast to do that, which is further from any economic center.
Right.
And also we figured, you know what, if we did that, we'd kind of be isolating ourselves out there and further from friends and family who would be happy to support us if we were closer. So
Right.
instead of doing that, we found some awesome people who were interested in having a bit of a partnership, and we could be closer to Port Hope, Cobourg, Peterborough, and even Durham region. So yeah, there's that aspect. So our farm's been doing great so far. We've invested into a new greenhouse and a tractor.
And you put a well in too this year, didn't you, in the summertime?
That's right.
Oh yeah, the well.
Well, it's 250 foot deep.
Why'd you remind us?
Sorry.
Well, we actually had a lot of support on that project. It was quite an expensive ordeal, and you know, our intern actually, Phoebe from last year, we were going through some drought issues, and she's a particularly emotionally sensitive person. There were moments where we were just like clearly stressed and overtaken by a few of our crops, you know, dying in the field or having to choose between watering these ones and letting these ones go. And so we were dealing with the stresses of that, and she was the kind of bearing witness to it and said, you know what, let's like maybe start a GoFundMe page. We'll see if there's any community support out there. And I was a little skeptical and well, not skeptical. I knew maybe there would be some support, but you know, we're more like self-sufficient people. We're like, no, we'll figure it out. We'll do it. We can do it. But honestly, the help from our community was super inspiring.
Nice.
And we were able to raise about half the money that we needed for our portion of the investment into the well.
Yeah.
Through GoFundMe. So that was a huge help. So yeah, now we have seemingly abundant well. Like it's pushing out more than 12 gallons a minute.
Wow.
Which
That's
is
good.
great.
Yeah.
We have the greenhouse. We have the tractor. The tractor, we haven't compromised on any of our beliefs in growing soil here with the tractor. Some people, once you move to tractor scale, you're kind of just like, you know, you're driving all over the place. You're cultivating with big cultivators. You're doing more broad acreage, and you're not really considering the soil health as much as you were to if you're doing the permanent raised bed system that we've adopted here from Jean Martin and Elliot Coleman. So we've been able to really look at our system, put it in focus, and customize a tractor to fit the spacing of the new system that we've created to accommodate for that same system of being able to grow soil life and have less soil compaction, and meanwhile be able to get jobs done a lot quicker with less physical strain. Because we were finding in the middle of the summer, you know, we have to do a bunch of weeding and do some bed prep, say, and it's the middle of the summer, it's 35 degrees. People are super tired already, and we're out there with hand tools hoeing away to get the weeds, and we're using buckets and shovels to bring compost onto our 180 garden beds that we plant multiple times through the season. So we're lucky to have a little Gator utility vehicle here on the community farm that we can borrow once in a while to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not having a tractor to be able to at least load the buckets with compost or prep a bed quickly, or be able to, you know, manage pathways, weeds on pathways at least. So yeah, those three investments are obviously the biggest ones we've probably made on the farm to date, but we're hoping that we can leverage our skills and abilities that we've gained with all our small farm tools to make things a bit easier for us, open up a bit of time, drop drop the physical labor a bit and hopefully transfer that into more harvesting of vegetables, which will relate to maybe a little bit more cash flow at the end of the season. So all those things we're hoping will get us to the point where we feel like we can maybe afford a farm of our own one day and own the means of production, which is a big issue internationally now these days.
Right. Yeah. When you're talking about a tractor, like Kieran's only got a 1 acre homestead, and they do other things. Her boyfriend's a diesel mechanic, and he's got to lift engines and that sort of stuff. So they bought themselves a used 25 horsepower Cub Cadet tractor, with a front end loader. And so whenever I'm up there working her garden, because what we've done is, because I grew up on a farm and know a fair amount, I share my knowledge and my work, and we buy the seeds and do all the soil prep work and all that sort of stuff. And then she gives us the land, and then we just share the bounty. But it sure makes it nice when I have to go get manure and all that sort of stuff. I got a front end loader on a tractor, and I got a buddy with a dump trailer, and makes life really easy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that you can put the appropriate physical energy in the right place.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we don't want to be burning out when we know that we have a whole other half season ahead of us.
Yeah.
I think the tractor will be the savior.
Right.
I mean, and the water will be the other savior.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Water's key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we're getting near that time. So just for people out there, you can find Forager Farms on Instagram at Forager Farms. Where else can we find you?
Instagram's definitely where we're the most active. We are now starting to put our push for our CSA sales online. So yeah, it's all pretty much through Instagram, and then it connects through Facebook. But currently we're in hibernation mode. So if you do really want to find us, you can come to the farm.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But throughout the growing season, we do welcome anyone to come. We're pretty open doors here, so for people to see where their food's coming from and just get to know all of us farmers here, because it's a real delight when people make their way to us, and it gives us purpose when we're handing the vegetables from our hands or from the garden to the customer's hands. So
it's a big education for people, even though we live in a small rural community. Kids in my classes, as a former educator, they don't have a connection to their food. They don't know where it comes from. And I know my daughter, when she was trying to figure out how much to sell her eggs for, and then she figured everything all out. She had this little spreadsheet and, feed and this, that, and the other thing. And I said, now you know why, Kieran. People think farmers are really wealthy, but you know what? They work awfully hard for, just a small amount of income.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty frugal. We live a pretty bare minimum life, but the whole idea is that we're living a more self-sustainable, self-sufficient life. Yeah. And it's a real treat and reward to see that our cold cellar's full of our own vegetables.
Yeah, that's really rewarding. When you want to get some salsa, you can just go down into your cold cellar and
not to make you jealous, but I'm sure you got that too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I don't know, man, our tomato crop was gigantic, and the Sean and Kieran, they put up a bunch of spaghetti sauce and all sorts of different type of salsa. It's awesome. And then when you get to your last jar, it's like, oh, I gotta go to the grocery store and get some.
Yeah, that's it. I know. It's so funny shopping as a person who grows their own food. Yeah, it's kind of like you turn your head at a lot of the food. You're like, nope.
Yeah, that's like our eggs. Kieran got into the eggs because she bought some eggs, and I'll shoot you a picture of what her eggs look like. But when I show people, they're like, they look just like Cadbury Easter eggs.
Oh wow, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. She put a post on this homestead page, and people were like, how'd you get your eggs like that? How do you keep getting, it's the middle of winter time. She's only got 10 laying hens, and she averages 5 to 6 eggs a day. Sometimes it's down to 3. But you know what? I know some people who have flocks with more than 20 hens, and they're getting 2 or 3 eggs a day. So her birds are pretty happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it must be that mobile chicken coop that you built. It's a bit of a mansion. They're living.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're living the high life.
That's it.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's something we're adding this year. We're doing some lane hens,
Nice.
but that can be another conversation.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Anyways, I just want to thank you guys very much for being part of the first full episode of the Skippy Report. And if people aren't quite sure if you're local, where to find Erin and Tyler, you can just hit me up on Facebook or on Instagram, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Great.
So I look forward to coming out to the farm and doing this too.
Great. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Skippy. We're looking forward to having you back. It's going to be a great 2021 for sure. And, And looking forward to doing maybe a few more of these talks.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, different parts of the year and the different growing seasons, eh?
Yeah, sure.
All right, everybody.
Cool.
Thanks for listening in to the Skippy Report. And thanks again to Erin and Ty for participating.
All right, brother. Take care. We'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah.